Muy buenos días, muy buenas tardes para...
Good morning and good afternoon for some of our colleagues. Thank you very much for being with us today. For Bienvenida, this is a very happy day because we're launching a new product, which is personalized information services. And in order to welcome us and provide the introduction for this launching, it is an honor for us to have the Assistant Director of the Pan American Health Organization, the World Health Organization, Dr. Francisco Becerra. Doctor, please. Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for participating with us in this meeting. Special greetings to our colleagues from Bienvenida in Sao Paulo. Boa tarde. For me, it is a great pleasure to spend today with you for several reasons. One, the growth we've seen on health information, scientific production at an international level is of such a size and scope that what used to take us a long time to read and to study matters related to health sciences in a book, the book could have an average shelf life of 5 to 15 years at best. However, health research, the number of researchers, the progress that we see on the treatment and clinical assays, new methodologies, and even on matters that have to do with public health intervention is of such a size and the scope and importance that the amount of information that comes out every single day practically lasts a couple of years. And this brings with it a huge demand on what to do and how to have access on scientific information as it is linked to health in order to try to understand the speed at which we're having this exchange of information and scientific evidence and how we can deal in the best way possible in order to have access to whatever is necessary in order to make decisions on health, to be well informed, and to be kept abreast as to what is happening in the field of education and evidence. In this regard, where do we consult or what do we consult? And that is one of the major questions that we always have on matters of health. There's so much information available, and at some point we might be faced with conflicts and not being able to understand or be confused as to what the best evidence is and what is the evidence we can use. The Latin American and Caribbean Center on Information on Health Sciences has been working in the last 50 years in democratization of information, knowledge, and scientific evidence. This mission of the center is performed through the development of products and services that attempt to automate information, to make it accessible, and to speed up scientific evidence for this region in a particularly significant way. It is much easier to take evidence that is generated in the region in order to try to place things in a context and try to apply it if necessary within the Latin American and Caribbean context. However, when faced with this avalanche of scientific information, even Bienvenida offers a lot of information every single day through everything that has to do with the virtual library on health, the index for Latin America and the Caribbean, and the producers of health science information. All of this provides us a great amount of information on health and allows health professionals, decision makers to have access to an impressive amount of information on evidence for decision making on public health and clinical health. However, when faced with this avalanche and the amount of information that comes out every single day, Bienvenida has taken a very significant step in saying that everything that has to do with the virtual health library, it will provide a new product, the virtual library on health, thus providing the access and facilitating to the user the possibility of creating your own documents in that virtual library. And therefore, it will make it easier for you, if you're a health worker, decision maker, researcher, if you need to have a specific search, a query on a specific topic, oral rehydration or diarrhea. You can personalize your service and for you to receive topics of interest so that you can be kept well informed and make the necessary decisions. This is what we will see today. I thank the entire team of Bienvenida for the support provided and for presenting a new product, introducing this new product, which brings us closer to decision makers, to health workers, to researchers, in order to be able to facilitate your task and so that you don't have to go and start fishing, see what you find. But for the virtual library on health to be at your disposal to deal with issues of interest and thus to be able to have easy access to whatever you've pre-selected. Congrats to the entire Bienvenida team and congratulations for this initiative. And I now give you Dr. Diego Gonzalez, who will make a more detailed description of this new product, My Virtual Library on Health. Dr. Gonzalez, please. Thank you very much, Dr. Becerra. Since for this launching, we have not only colleagues from the Pan American Health Organization connected, both in the headquarters and in other countries, but we also have colleagues in other places, cooperating centers, counterparties, working centers, all connected because they contribute day after day with the scientific production in Latin America and the Caribbean. And I'd like to thank Dr. Becerra, who is the Assistant Director of the Pan American Health Organization. We're very pleased to know that in the room with Dr. Becerra, we have Mr. Anderson, who is the administrator of our organization. Thank you, Anderson, for being connected, for being with us today. And as was very well said by Dr. Becerra, Bienvenida democratizes information, knowledge, and scientific evidence, and it does it through several products and services. There is one product which is a virtual library on health, which is a model through which Bienvenida promotes systematization and access to information. To date, it brings together more than 26 million bibliographic references, and a huge percentage of this is in complete text. And we have 107 cases of virtual libraries on health, both on thematic libraries, institutional libraries, as well as national libraries. However, Bienvenida continues to work on improving this entire work and in placing in the hands of the final user, the end user, which is our main interest, to reach that physician, that nurse, the producer of the publications, the editor, to work on services that will be more specialized and individualized. This is why we're launching this new product today, personalized services and information that we've called BVS, and which will be introduced by Renato Murasaki, our IT manager, who will make a detailed presentation of this product. Please, Renato. Thank you very much, Dr. Diego. Good day, good afternoon, everyone. It is with great pleasure that I come to share with you the launching of these personalized information services that we're calling BVS, and presenting the background of this initiative. What are these services about? And also to give you future perspectives that we have. Above all, I'd like to talk about the background, what led to this idea of offering personalized information services through BVS. The first version was developed in 2007 and was available on regional BVS sites until 2012. And on different occasions, we've been asked to continue developing these services, and it was even one of the recommendations that came out of the 6th regional coordination meeting of the BVS. During the Regional Congress on Information and Health Sciences, which was held in Washington in 2012. Thus, as part of our strategic planning for 2016-2017, And with the financial support of the Ministry of Health in Brazil, we went back to the development of these services under the concept of a new BBS network. The next slide. Part of our motivation, which led us to the development of this project, is with the following questions. How to improve the experience of our users while they navigate in the BBS. According to our statistics, we spend more than 11 minutes per visit in the regional BBS, something that seems to be very attractive in order to offer new options for interactions with users, such as storing documents of interest while I serve the BBS, to know and find out what's new about a topic of interest, to store it, to reuse and combine the searches that are conducted during this experience of the user, to have access to links of interest and have access to similar documents to those that are of my interest. The next slide. In a nutshell, how to personalize the delivery of information in keeping with the needs of the user in a systematic and proactive way. How to allow the user to report on its topics of interest and amongst the millions of documents available in the BBS to deliver what in fact is needed by the user. You will find the answers to these questions in My BBS. As you can see on the slide, we can see an example of two different types of users. In the case of the health professional on the left, where we assume that the health professional is interested in having documents, scientific technical document about intestinal infectious diseases, colitis, ulcerative Crohn's colitis, and thus to be able to create within the BBS a profile so that automatically the system, the BBS system, will be able to provide the best results about these topics. This is what we mean. The next slide. The new services are already available on the menu of the home page of the regional BBS. As you can see here on the slide, if you log on to bbs.org, the site that you see here, bbssalud.org, you can have access to the service, as you can see on the slide, and also, as you can see on the next one, the page that shows the result of the query in the BBS page, as we see on the screen. This is the screen that shows the results of that search on the BBS website, where as of today, every document that is recovered on this website comes together with a link that is called My BBS, where the user can interact with the interface and then find these documents of interest in the BBS, which we will see as the first service that will be provided of this nature. Then, clicking on all these My BBS links, we see, as we saw on the previous slides, you arrive at this page where you have to authenticate as a user and password. And the novelty is that there's different ways of doing it. The first option is by using a Google or Facebook account. And for those who don't like using the same authentication that they use in social networks, the option is to create your user and password directly in My BBS services, as you can see on the screen, with the possibility of signing up. For those who are part of the network of cooperating centers of Bienvenida and are already managing their reference databases through the BiAdmin system, we also offer the option of using the same credentials as you do in the Bienvenida accounts. The next one, the first step after the first login, the system will offer a virtual tour, which will then explain for the user each one of the services available. As you can see here on these examples, you can come and go and follow all the explanations, or you can skip this option. being able to go back to the tour whenever you so wish through the menu of the user profile. Next. After authenticating, the user will have access to this page, or the page that we now see on the screen, which is a control panel where you can visualize a summary of the information available in all services, BBS services, such as favorite documents, topics of interest, favorite links, recent activities performed by the user, as well as searches in BBS. Besides these highlights that we have for control, in order to have access to all these services, then you can click on the links that are to your left. Next. The first service that we will see today is favorite links that might be organized in collections. In all collections, there will be a search engine where you can recover information from amongst the 26 million documents available. So as soon as the user starts navigating the favorite documents, and as part of these collections, you have the default collection that BBS has, which is the entry box. And the user will then be able to create its own collections, as we see here in this example. This is very interesting in order to get the documents organized. So the connections are built during the relation with the user, and for the time being, we'll give you an example of what Zika shows and how this is seen in the search box. The result of the search is the already known recovery interface of the BBS, with the difference that now the user can add its personal collections to those documents of interest by clicking on the My BBS link, as you can see here. And by clicking on this link, this will be the message that will then let you know that you have had successful entry to the document in the entry box of your favorite documents. Going back to My BBS, you can visualize the document that was just entered, the document that we just selected in that search on BBS, and to perform several actions, such as eliminating the collection, moving it to another collection, or seeing similar documents as we can see in this example. This is a good way of organizing documents of interest here, because many a times for us they might be spread and not found in an organized fashion. The next one. The second service is the creation of the topics of interest, that is to say, profiles that respond to the needs for information of users. And in this example, we can see that this user already has 4 topics of interest, different topics of interest. And we will see how we edit or how we create these topics of interest. On this slide, we can see how the user can create a topic of interest or edit a pre-existing one. And you simply have to link the topic that is being created to a list of words that better represent what the user is looking for. This service does not utilize the typical Boolean search as and or. And here they're using a different technology which allows us to recover similar instruments by a lexical approach. If the documents of topics of interest are in fact relevant for the user themselves can add them to the collections of favorite documents, as you can see on the screen. So here, if we have a document that we're looking for regarding chronic diseases, Crohn's disease, in a very simple way, I could add this document, which is of interest to me, to my corresponding collection. The following service, the next service, is the search history performed on the BBS while you're logged on to My BBS. And this service quickly allows us to access the result of the searches already performed through the Show button, as we can see on this screen, besides being able to generate, to create new searches based on the combination of previously performed searches through the button that says Combine that we see on the screen. And this greatly facilitates the reutilization of the searches that the user had previously performed. The following service is favored links. This means users might register their links and to quickly have access to their preferred sites. And the following, in order to show the last service, we must have access to the user profile by clicking on name and picture of the user that is on the upper right-hand side of the screen. You can see that here you find the options of editing the user profile, changing the password, beginning of the virtual tour, the same tour that we saw at the beginning of the presentation, which explains each one of the services and possibilities to send a comment or to report an error to BREM's team, or simply to log out from My PBS services. I would like to take advantage of this opportunity to let you know that if you have a doubt, if you have a question, if you have a problem during your experience of using My BBS, you can use these services, and you can say report to BREM. So now we will take a look at how to edit the user profile. In the profile, it is possible to register some personal data regarding the main platforms of single identification of researchers, as is the case with ResearchGate, ORCID, or Research ID. And these platforms, the users, amongst other options offered by each one of these platforms, report on their publications with their scientific articles and thesis. For the time being, My BBS is able to exchange data with ORCID's platform because it is the one that maintains open mechanisms for the exchange of data, and for that it is then necessary to report the corresponding ID number as we see on the screen. This is a real example of an ID, an ORCID number, and we will see what happens when you report this number at the profile. Other portfolios, if they allow it to do so, we can include the same function. Then, if the user has defined its ORCID number, or its ORCID ID, and has defined its publications as a public, we will be able, as you can see on the screen, to rescue the information for each one of the publications where the user is an author or is a co-author. The advantage, and this is the value that we have here, of the integration with ORCID is that users can easily visualize the documents available on the BBS, which are similar to their publications, as we can see here in this case. If you click on C in the Google Scholar, as you can see here, which is an option, you will also be able to see the number of quotations received and what publications offer these quotes. And this is interesting for a person to monitor what is happening with the publications. Then, to conclude, I'd like to stress that My BBS service is under constant development, and therefore we're following the concept of a beta version, because we are providing feedback through the experiences of users and the utilization of personalized services. We already have in our planning the development of new functions, and we will inform whenever we're online. After the next 6 months, our goal is to integrate these personalized services to all the other national and thematic cases of the BBS network. Then, register already. Start today use these personalized services. You can access the regional BBS in www.bvsalud.org and click on the My BBS link. I thank you for your attention, and I now give the floor to Dr. Diego for final considerations. Thank you very much, Renato. It seems to me that we already have this new product on the air that has been built with a lot of dedication by the Bienvenida team, and now we will await your contributions in order to be able to improve the system. And suffice it to make a clarification, when you have access to the virtual library on health, as well as also having access to BBS website, you will find records that only offer a summary and others that have the complete text. Those that have a complete text are free access. Those that only have a summary, because they represent a payment for the magazines or for the authors of the publication, this is not something that Bienvenida does. This is something that each user has to do on its own account. We know that this is only the initial launching, and it is not easy to record each one of the details offered by Renato in the presentation. We have a tutorial that has been included, and you can access the tutorial whenever you're working with My BBS. Besides, Bienvenida will kick off a training cycle via WebEx virtual service in the 3 languages, in Spanish, in Portuguese, and in English. And you have the dates on this slide. You can see that this has already been scheduled so that we can begin the training from the beginning of the month of September. And we will be continuing over this so that we can expand more the use of this service and also to improve it. I don't want to bring this launching to an end without seeing whether you have a question on the Spanish chat. No. On the English chat, nothing. And on the Portuguese chat, nothing. Then suffice it for me to thank you for the presence of all of you who've followed us in this launching that was done in 3 languages, in Spanish, English, and Portuguese. To thank you once again for the time devoted to us, for the support provided by Dr. Becerra, the Assistant Director of the Pan American Health Organization, and also to express our gratitude for the presence of the Director of the Administrative Department of the Pan American Health Organization for having been with us throughout the entire launching event. Thank you all. And we expect to hear your comments, your feedback, so that we can improve this service, which is your service. This is a service that was built with a lot of hands, but it is a service to provide greater quality in the access to scientific Latin American information, as well as in other countries in the world. Thank you, everyone, and this launching is now coming to an end. Thank you.